I've been leading worship for over 20 years, but what if I had to start over? What if I had to start over today at a new church specifically? Or if I could just go back from the beginning and know everything I know now and not make any mistakes, what would I do? That's what today's video is about. There's about 10 things that I want to tell you that I would do over, or things that I did well that I would definitely do again. Maybe even some mistakes to avoid. So whether you are stepping into a new role at a new church, or you've never been a worship leader and you're trying to get a job, I'm telling you, this video is what I wish someone would have told me. So let's get into it. The first thing, and I said I have about 10 things, but I'm going to start off with a bonus. Usually you put the bonus at the end, but I'm going to start off with a bonus right now because I just thought of it and I'm thinking, you know what, this is probably the most important thing before you step into a role, and that is to develop your theology of worship. Now, what does that even mean? I heard that for many years, but no one ever told me what that meant. Somebody would ask me, what is your theology of worship? And I'm like, I don't, what does that mean? I don't know what that means. So what it means is you need to come up with a definition of what worship even is. You could come up with your own, or you could borrow someone else's. I have plenty of books like Christ-Centered Worship by Brian Chappell. I just wrote a paper on this, so I got a bunch of books out. You Are What You Love, James K.A. Smith. Habits of Grace, David Mathis. The Worship Pastor, very good book. Unceasing Worship, a little bit more academic, but still really accessible and good. Harold Best. Bob Coughlin, he has several books here. Worship Matters and True Worshipers. Most of these books have a definition up front of what worship is. And in order to develop your theology of worship before you even step into a role, you got to know exactly what worship is. What is it that we're supposed to be doing? If you're going to be the worship leader, you have to define what worship is and what it looks like in the context of a church. And then once you have that definition, you can then implement strategies for in your local church. And I'm going to be upfront and honest. We talk about this all the time in my internship. I have an internship at my church, and I use the Worship Ministry Blueprint internship. It's a done-for-you worship internship where you go through and learn all things worship. And these are the kind of things that we talk about. We talk about a theology of worship, understanding what we are doing and how to implement the vision into a worship ministry. If you're at all interested in that, it's everything you need to know. Click the link down below. It's made as an internship where you get all these guides to implement this internship at your church. But you can also just do it by yourself. You can just get the single pass and take it first if you don't have any interns yet, and then you can add users later as you develop an internship. So you could watch all the videos, 50 plus videos. There's worksheets and charts, and it goes through all of this stuff to train you how to be a worship leader and to go into a new ministry. And it's excellent for you to train other people so that you have a pipeline of worship leaders. So I'm going to get that out of the way. Develop your theology of worship. Come up with a definition. What is worship biblically? What do other people think worship is? And then we move into the practical 10 things that I would do at a new church. And number one is meet with your pastor first. Obviously, you got hired on at this church, or you're about to be hired on. You need to meet with this pastor and understand what the culture is at the church. What does a win look like for him in this new role as a worship leader? Is he bringing you in to make changes? Kind of like my last job, or the job I'm at now. They brought me in to make some changes. Or are they bringing you in because they are down a person, but they don't want to make any changes? They just want you to fit their model. You need to know this stuff up front to know what you're getting into. Also, when you meet with the pastor, it helps me to do this, is to make sure he's got your back. When you eventually will make changes, you need to make sure you have the support of the pastor and you're not fighting the pastor. I hear a lot of worship leaders coming in and they'll tell me I try to make these changes, but the people don't respond well. The pastor's not behind me. And I'm like, whoa, you're making changes without the pastor being behind you? That's the first wrong step. That's why this is number one. Meet with your pastor first. If you're in a new role that you are not expected to make changes and you start making changes, that's on you, not them. Unless the pastor is a liar, and then maybe you shouldn't be at that church. You know what I mean? So you need to get the pastor behind you, or you need to get behind the pastor either way. Before you implement anything else in the worship ministry, you need to build that trust. Number two, audit the culture. No matter what, before you make any changes, no matter what people have said their church is like, you need to just visualize it first. Attend a few weeks and see what the culture is actually like. Understand what's celebrated, what's looked down upon, what's missing, what needs to be changed from your point of view. Understand the culture before you come in and make changes. Do people accept change very well? If you don't know, you need to understand, maybe have some conversations of what change was like before and what is it going to look like when you start making changes. These are really good things to know before you start making any changes. Understand the culture. Number 3, and this is something I did at the church I'm at now, I'm so glad I did it, and that is to schedule one-on-one times with the band. I don't know if I got to every single person, but I did this for a lot of people. And for me, it was more of a re-audition time. I wanted to just get to know them, also hear what they could do. You know, if they play electric guitar, I'm like, hey, let's have a meeting. I would love to get to know you as a person and come ready to play a few songs and show me where you are. This is one of those things that helped me understand, you know, what kind of talent level each person was at, but it also helped them to be heard. You could ask them questions about what they enjoyed, what they don't enjoy about being on the team, what's a win, what brings them life, what struggles have they had in the past. When you spend that amount of time and you invest in people to actually listen to them and in return get to kind of feel where they are skill wise, it's better for both of y'all. Number 4, start building trust with a quick win. You spent some time auditing the culture, you've interviewed people, you've gotten to know them, know what makes them tick and what doesn't, but you've also maybe seen a quick win that you could implement. Like maybe it's transitions from song to song, and they play well with the songs, but they just ignore transitions. They're not spending any time developing what the transition will look like in the rehearsals. Maybe that's something you could implement quickly. That's kind of like, hey, you are bringing value to this team. You're not just sitting back and watching. You are ready to make changes for the better. It could be something like understanding how they resource their team. Do they plan well in advance? Are the volunteers showing up prepared or are they not? Which kind of leads into number 5, clarify the planning workflow. Maybe they have a good system in place, but maybe they don't. In my experience, a lot of worship teams, they fail at this point. Maybe because the worship leader has been part-time or not even on staff and they just do with what they have. But one of the things that really makes a worship ministry start to thrive is planning ahead. And sometimes it's just because it's not the gifting of the worship leader. You know, a lot of us musicians, we're more creative, and being stuck in a box of planning is not just what gives us life, right? But people respond well to things that are planned out ahead of time. Not just something that they appreciate, which they really do, but it's also like it shows them that you prioritize them and their schedules. When you plan out ahead far enough, like for songs, you give them the songs ahead of time and not like on Saturday night or the Thursday before that Sunday, then they have time to actually practice and come prepared. But when you don't do that, you're cutting them off at the ankles or at the waist. There's a saying there. I don't remember what it's called, but you're limiting their potential. And so when you plan ahead and plan ahead with their scheduling, you're like, hey, I want to prioritize your life. Their life is not about the worship ministry. They have families and jobs, and you could go in and say, hey, go ahead and plan out your block out dates, put in everything you need to put in. That way, when I go to send schedules, your schedule is prioritized before mine, because you don't want them to feel like a commodity. That's something I always like saying. I don't want anybody on my team to feel like I'm just filling spaces with people. I want them to know that I value them as people first and foremost. Number 6, evaluate the volunteer pipeline. Are they struggling to get volunteers? Maybe there's like one bass player and one drummer and 45 female vocalists. It tends to be how it is. It's just a little lopsided sometimes, and it's usually the most technical positions in the band are the ones that are the most rare oftentimes. And so how are they developing leaders? Do they even have a way to develop leaders? What is the onboarding process to bring people on the team? If you need help with that and you don't even know what you would do coming into a new worship leader position, or maybe you're in a position right now and you're like, I don't really have an onboarding process. Somebody just comes to me and they say they want to be on the band, and I just say, okay. If you want something a little more official, something thought through and planned ahead, I actually can give you my free complete onboarding process. Just click the link below. It's a video training with some downloads, my free gift to you. So if you want to know what I do every single month at my church as we are adding new people, that's the process down below. Go click it. Number 7, check in with the tech. Are there any problems? Does the mix not sound very good? Are the lyrics always late? Are people's mics cutting in and out? Like, what are the tech issues? And then come up with a strategy on how to repair, fix. Sometimes it's just money at the end of the day. You know, when you invest in budget items, then you get budget results a lot of times, especially with production and the tech in production. And so sometimes it might just be like, hey, we need to eventually invest in something that's a little bit more substantial, something that's going to last us a long time. And that stuff needs to be communicated to the leadership. All right, number 8 is to create a document of your core values, so you have something to point to. Now, I've already mentioned a couple of my core values just in this video already. 2 of them are about the volunteers, like my commitment to the volunteers. I never want my volunteers to feel like a commodity or a resource. I want them to feel valued as humans. 2, I want them to enjoy being on the team, which usually means scheduling things in advance and valuing their preparation time. I also want to be a team that is always growing, which is why having a really complete onboarding process is important. And we prioritize congregational singing. That is the other value. It's not about music, it's about singing. Our job at the end of the day is to get the church to sing to their creator, not just have music. And a lot of times that can be confusing in music ministry. We use music to point people to Jesus and allow them to respond to him through singing. That's the main goal. One of the things we talk about in the internship. All right, number 9, pick a big rock to tackle within the first 90 days. Something that might need to be changed immediately to send the team in a right direction. It could be changing the culture of how people talk to each other. It could be something technical. Like for me, one of the first things I did, because we are an ascending church, I wanted to prepare anybody on the team to be able to go to another ministry and feel prepared. And so I did not implement like a click, or I didn't implement loops and tracks first thing, but I did implement a click first thing within the first 90 days. And I had some pushback, and I had to bring people along and share with them the value rather than just be like, whoa, we need this click. No, I was like, hey, you know what? We're ascending church. A lot of churches do use a metronome or a click and guide in their ears. And so I want everybody to be able to go play at the church down the road when they need help. And I want everybody to be equipped to be able to do that. I also had some really good people on my team that kind of took it as like a slap in the face for me to think that they would need to play with a metronome that would like belittling their skill. And I was like, that is totally not it. And this would be something I would say to them, you are very skilled, but not everybody on the team is. And all a click does is gives us a objective reference to the speed of the song, because people like me, when I get excited, I start strumming a little bit faster, and it keeps arguments from happening. Like somebody would say, oh, you're rushing the song. And the other person's like, no, actually, I thought we were a little slow. And if you have a click, you just ignore, you bypass all those unnecessary types of arguments that do happen. I've been there. Let me know down in the comments. Do you guys fight about the tempo of the song? Those of you who don't use a click, use a click. Use a click. You should use a click. And if you ever do want to implement tracks or have like a special video where you're like playing the song to a lyric video, you'll need to be able to play to a click. And so it's good for the volunteers to know how to do that. It's raising their level. And if some people just don't like it, even after you've shared the values with them and they have like maybe an attitude or something, that maybe being on the team is not for them. And that's just something you'll have to address as you get closer to it. The last thing, number 10, is prioritize your walk with God. You can't lead worship in a church or lead your team well if you're not leading yourself well. And this is one of the things I wanted to say because it often gets overlooked. If you're not taking care of your own soul, you will have nothing to pour out in ministry. You have to take care of yourself. You have to allow God to work in your life and be a real worshiper before you can lead others in worship. I hope this video was helpful for you. Check out the free onboarding process. If nothing else, it's my free gift to you. But if you're serious about taking your worship ministry to the next level and understand how to be a more well-rounded worship leader, and to build a pipeline of future worship leaders at your church, which is always the struggle. We always need more qualified worship leaders. Check out the Worship Ministry Blueprint Internship. Do it. Go check it out. All the details are down below. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.